BlackChannel.net radio.
Black First Black Man. This is Carl out of Long Beach, California.
Brother Carl, we missed you on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I've been out of the country for a while.
Wow. Must be nice.
Oh, yes. It's just, part of making money to go ahead and conquer.
Department of Homeland Security won't let me go from one website to another, but they let you go around the world.
Well, they're making a mistake. I've been stopped and put in Guantanamo lines many a time, so it's, I always get the Bin Laden line when I go through the customs.
Yeah, I had to cut off my goatee because of that.
Oh, I wear mine long just for it.
Yeah, I used to wear mine long too, and it became a lot of hassle. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm enjoying the show. I've been able to catch some of the archives. I mean, I just have to say Black First totally. It's you guys are on the right track. And when you were talking about empowerment, there's no doubt about it. Just because I'm in the financial field, that's without a doubt where a lot of our folk are going to have to focus and fast. We're going to have to basically do a lot of things for self-reliance and post-haste. Because there's a few axes that are fixing to fall across the board, and a lot of youngsters are going to be caught up in the fray, especially the ones that are still depending on others, to go ahead and make their monthly nut. And one thing that a lot of our folk might, especially the youngsters, I have to reach out to them because a lot of them are, they're debating and having lectures and a lot of things like that. That luxury is pretty much going to be gone here in the next few months. Right now, it's about self-reliance and total control, black empowerment at all costs. I hate to say it, but a lot of our folk, what we end up doing is we complain about things that we never change, and then we never change the things we complain about. And as the world becomes more econo-ethnic protectionist, our window of opportunity is diminishing quite quick.
Well, the window of opportunity, as far as I'm concerned, brother, I'm an idealist, but I'm also a realist. And the window of opportunity is closed in New Orleans. The window of opportunity is closed in Detroit. It's been closed in California. There will be a few sparkles and a few glimmers along the way. But understand, the field has changed. The game has changed now in those areas. What we're witnessing in Detroit right now, it was already teetering because of the heavy Muslim Arab influence that was going on there. But as far as I can see now, that's it. The bow has broken in Detroit. It's just going to be a rush at this point. New Orleans has been broken. They're just getting their eviction papers now. That's the only thing that's happening. So we're going to see some glimmers in those areas along the way, but what you're saying is absolutely right. I wanted to know here, Carl, because you work in the financial field and whatnot, and we were talking earlier about that documentary, The Money Masters, and there were certain parts of it I agreed with, certain parts I didn't agree with, simply because they were factually inaccurate. But one of the parts that I did agree with was when one of the people there said that basically he equated money to the law of conservation of matter and energy, that it's never destroyed, it simply moves places. That's not quite true. Money can be destroyed. A currency can be destroyed. Nazi Germany, 1922. Money can be destroyed. However, what we're witnessing right now is not a destruction of the money. We're witnessing a reconsolidation of it. And when these people have consolidated it wherever they want it to be, which is basically back in their hands, then they're going to start spending it again because, of course, that's what it's made to do. They're going to start spending it again, and then you're going to just see them gobbling up all these huge tracts, and then you're never going to have known a time that they didn't own everything. And I want to know what you thought about that.
I did a lecture not too long ago, actually describing almost the same scenario, especially when you're looking at Mark Zuckerman and Boston Properties. You're looking at a lot of things. Basically what it is they're trying to create what I call a good times scenario. When I say good times, I'm talking about the 1970s show I grew up on, Good Times. Basically slumlords, okay? And a lot of these small hats and others are trying to create, basically turn the world into a big slum, and they're the slumlord. Money in and of itself, the physical aspect can be destroyed, but what it represents just morphs into something else until they get something, But the perception, the concept of trade is always going to be there. So no matter what mechanism you use for it, whether it's the physical money, clamshells, or credit cards, it's still a perception of value and what you're going to pay for that particular item, or what you value it and what does the other person value it, and then you meet at a fair market price for that object. So yeah, there is no doubt about it. Money, if you're talking Weinmark, Germany, or if you're talking even what's happening in Zimbabwe, the physical aspect, yes, well, definitely. But the things that it represents, which is, of course, time, energy, resource, both human and mineral or whatever, as well as, and sometimes it just it also represents a fiat value. So, which is where a lot of interest rates and things like that, where you get the concept of interest.
There's where the trouble comes in. It's the fiat values.
Right. Basically,
that's where all the games get played.
Right. It's basically, you have something and you say, hey, it's worth this, and you tack on something else, and somebody else uses that to buy something, and they say it's worth this, and next thing you know, you've created money out of nothing.
Right.
And as you're saying about them taking over, there's no doubt about it. They're basically, when the capital leaves a country, what happens, it depends on how it leaves. You have a capital flows or a capital account and a current account, okay? One of the things about capital is a lot of times it leaves a country, it leaves a place for investment, okay? Now, when you have this vacuum of capital that happened actually globally, and especially in the United States, is a lot of that capital did not seek higher return and did not necessarily get invested. It was basically to save a bunch of people's butts. And most of the folk they saved are Europeans, the crackers, for the lack of a better term. And they still, unfortunately, they still had the resources as a hedge, i.e. the resources of what we call the Southern Hemisphere, i.e. Black folks, no doubt about it, Hispanic nations and things like that. We did. I'm doing some research right now as to the northern and the southern hemisphere, and where the capital. One is resource producers, and one is the industrialists who actually sell everything back to the south, or to the resource producers, i.e. Africa, Latin America, things like that. Well, things are starting to change right now, and you stated it very, very well when you said that it's a thing of like they want to own everything. So basically, when that capital, they're trying to make ways of getting that capital back. They're still investing, but they still have to. You're going to start seeing a rush toward assets coming back in their name, and that'll be a lot of black folks' homes. You brought up New Orleans. We're pretty much defunct. The Vietnamese will take it over with Hispanics. Detroit, when you talked about the Muslim, there's also Eastern Europeans that are looking at eyeing that, as well as folks from Australia, New Zealand, and stuff. So we're pretty much defunct there. Baltimore is on the edge. I'll give it a couple of years, and then we'll probably be run out of Baltimore. California is over with. Nevada, over. Arizona, done. Colorado is on the edge. These are places where people, when I said econo-ethnic protectionism, they go ahead and they invest in assets as well as invest in the resource, and they create, it's basically a flea market. They create their own stand, where unfortunately a lot of times black folk are caught up into, the spiritualism or the, what we call spookism, chasing phantoms, saying, like Illuminatis and Ameros and stuff. I mean, just really diversionary tactics for not doing something productive and building for ourselves. So that when you said that window of opportunity, I was being an optimist, but to be a realist, I have to say you're onto something. That window is closing on a global scale for us.
And the way that I see it, basically what we're going to have is there's not going to be any cities or places that we can point to on the map, like, they have the red states and blue states and say this is a black enclave or whatnot. It's just going to be a smattering and a sprinkling of these dots all over the place. And that's going to constitute surviving black society, because things have changed. I mean, and I've given this analogy before, where I say that, you reach a point where you've reached a critical mass, where you've tilted to a point where you cannot recover. You need to recover, but you've gone to a point where there is no recovery here. There is no putting the ship back up again. It's like the Titanic. There may have been a chance within the first 30 minutes, hour of hitting the iceberg that they could have stopped the problem. But after that hour was over, it was terminal velocity. You can't recover at this point. New Orleans,
Exactly.